Jeremiah 22, verses 1 to 5. God's orders: go to the royal palace and deliver this message. Say, listen to what God says, O King of Judah, you who sit on David's throne, you and your officials, and all the people who go in and out of these palace gates. This is God's message. Attend to matters of justice. Set things right between people. Rescue victims from their exploiters, and don't take advantage of the homeless, the orphans, the widows. Stop the murdering. If you obey these commands, then kings who follow in the line of David will continue to go in and out of these palace gates, mounted on horses and riding in chariots. They and their officials and the citizens of Judah. But if you don't obey these commands, then I swear, God's decree, this palace will end up a heap of rubble. I believe this palace highlights the dangers of striking out on our own. Imagine trying to find the Trafford Centre with no signposts, no map, no sat-nav, no sextant. We could end up at a landfill site. That's my analogy. The writer in Jeremiah uses an analogy of a ruined building. God's way cannot fail. Man's way could end up in ruin. It takes so much more effort doing it our way. Philippians 4, Matthew 6, Luke 12, and many other places in the Bible reassure us that God will provide us with what we need to follow him. The resources, the strength, the resilience. Hints are given in this passage of how to do it. Step in when there's exploitation and don't do it yourself. Give to those who don't have. Look after those who are too vulnerable to do it for themselves. Value life. Verses 4 and 5 remind us that in doing this, doing it God's way, we do not have to look over our shoulders for those we have treated badly. It means we can meet God's gaze rather than lower our eyes in shame. The kings and royal household would leave and enter through the palace gates. If wise and fair, they'd be welcomed and loved, the palace protected. If cruel and untrustworthy, they would be feared and shunned, the palace at risk of being ruined and destroyed. Are we building God's palace or weakening the building? Are we following God's route or our own? A prayer. Perfect Lord, take our internal maps and draw onto them your plans. Take our fears and turn them into trust, that we may build a strong piece of heaven here on earth. Amen.